What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about every single reason that you're a failure. Now, before I get into it, I just want to talk about where I acquired this list of reasons that you are a failure. And I acquired these from, firstly, studying successful people and even studying the works of people who study successful people, so like once removed a little bit. Authors such as Napoleon Hill and Tim Ferriss have produced a lot of great work in studying success. So studying their work is going to be very valuable, and that has been what's helped me to put together this list, as well as kind of doing an audit on my own undertakings and seeing where I've been failing and saying, okay, why am I failing? And really doing a lot of self-reflection into why I haven't seen success in some things that I've partaken in. And I have seen the success after I've implemented and checked myself through all these things on this list. And if I'm sufficient in, 2, 3, 4 of them, I make sure that I'm not sufficient in them anymore to see success in whatever it is that I am partaking in. And it has worked very, very well. So I hope it works well for you too. I know it will if you are honest with yourself and if you take yourself through this list attentively. And you can even, take notes, write things down here. Use it as something that you can go back to and check off, okay, why am I not succeeding in these things? Do I have this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? Am I doing this? So you can use this list to reference back to. Now, before I get into the reasons themselves, I want to outline and highlight what it is to be a failure. So what does it mean? How do we know, okay, I'm failing at this thing? Well, we have to first outline what it means to be successful at something. So if we have an undertaking, we have a goal that we're trying to get to. We have something that we are taking aim at. So think about trying to shoot like a bow and arrow at a target. And if you keep missing that target, so long as you're missing the target, you're failing. So we're going to talk about all the reasons why you're missing the target in any undertaking that you might be participating in. This list is going to be quite general, but you will be able to apply it to your specific goals and see how it directly is affecting you and keeping you away from success. And also, we're only going to focus on things that are within our domain of control. So, for example, unfavorable genetics isn't going to be something that's on this list, even though that could very well be a contributor to you failing at something. We're only going to focus at things that are in our control. Now, this list that I'm going to be sharing with you, not every single thing on this list may apply to you. They might not all be reasons that you specifically are failing. You might hear something I say and think, and honestly reflect to yourself and think, no, that actually doesn't apply to me. And that is very plausible. But these are all the possible reasons. These are all potential reasons that you are failing. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that we have in our control that is keeping us failing, that is making us a failure, this first thing is dishonesty. And a very practical example of this is actually in this exercise that you're doing in this video. By watching this video, you're taking on a list of reasons why you are a failure. Now, if you are dishonest with yourself about which ones apply to you, it's like, oh, that, I'm honest. This one doesn't apply to me. If you don't actually take the time to think about it and be like, really honest with yourself and say, okay, is this something that is plaguing me and plaguing my results? Is this a contributor to my lack of success and my failure? You have to be very honest with yourself. That's just one specific example where dishonesty can keep you failing. But you get the point. If you are dishonest with others in the world, that is a direct reflection of you being dishonest with yourself. Our relationships with others are a direct reflection of our relationship with ourselves. So if we can't even be honest with ourselves, we're not going to know what it is that we even really want. And that's setting us up for failure right from the start. So dishonesty is a huge, I can go on about this one. I can give this point its own video about how dishonesty is going to hold you back. So that's the first way. The second reason is that you have a lack of discipline. Again, this is pretty straightforward. A lack of discipline in any undertaking is going to not yield you any results that you want, that you would deem successful. So because you have a lack of discipline, you are not putting in as much time as you could be. You are not putting in as much focus, as much concentration, as much intention and effort into what it is that you are trying to achieve. And so that is a very, very common, perhaps the most common reason why people are failures in any undertaking. The third reason, poor health. Now, as I mentioned before, we're only going to focus on things that are within our domain of control. So I'm not going to, there's a lot of health complications that can arise that are seemingly out of our control. But let's focus on what is in our control. So your diet. If you are eating foods that are not conducive to your health, or even eating the right foods but too much of them or not enough of them, that is going to affect your performance in any undertaking that you are aiming success at, or aiming for success in, rather. If you are not exercising in adequate amounts, you are leaving stagnant energy in your body. You're not letting your body do what it needs to do. This vessel is not meant to just sit down all day. It is meant to be active. So, give yourself proper stimulus to let your brain and your cardiovascular system function at an optimal rate, and that is also going to give you optimal results. Another little subdomain of the way that we contribute to our poor health is by harboring negativity. So if we are constantly focusing our energy on negative thoughts, negative thought patterns, just negative aspects of our existence, or things that we perceive to be negative about our existence, then we are going to transmute that energy into our physical body. Now, at risk of sounding like a woohoo hippie here, I want to back this up with some actual scientific evidence. You can go ahead and look at the research that keeping a gratitude journal is objectively good for your health. So, this goes to prove that the inverse of focusing your energy on negative aspects of your existence is focusing your energy on the positive aspects, things that you are grateful for. This has a direct correlation with good health. And good health has direct correlation with being able to focus on the things that you want to succeed at. If you don't have proper health, then you are not going to be able to focus your energy in any undertaking to the amount that you need to be successful. The next reason, a lack of awareness over the forces that have shaped you. So to highlight why this is important, I want to draw upon a quote. As the twig is bent, so shall the tree grow. Now, what does this mean? If you plant a tree, or like a baby tree in the ground, and you plant it on an angle, the tree is going to grow on an angle. The way that that tree has been interacted with in its early stages of life is going to be how that tree develops. And it's the same for our cognition and our psyche and the way that our mind works. If we have grown up in an environment where certain things have been inflicted upon us, certain ways of thinking, those are going to carry out into our adulthood unless we are aware of the forces that shaped us. When you're a child, your mind gets programmed with the environment around you. So if the environment around you, and for most of us it's not, very conducive to success, that is going to be what is holding you back, or a big reason why you are being held back and why you are not succeeding is because you have these limitations that are, I don't want to say self-imposed, because they're imposed by the external environment, but I will say self-imposed because you have the ability to develop an awareness over these forces that have shaped you and then go about changing the ones that aren't conducive to your success and focusing on the ones that are conducive to your success. So, very important. You can go check out my video on shadow work if you are new to that concept of being aware of the forces that have shaped you. And the video on shadow work is going to be very helpful because these forces that have shaped you that are keeping you back, they're often in our subconscious mind. They're often things that we don't recognize in our operating system, so to speak. So you can go about doing shadow work to help rid yourself of those things that are holding you back. The next reason why you're a failure is a lack of aim. So I gave this example early on before I even started talking about the list. If you're shooting a bow and arrow at a target and you keep missing, well, you can call that failure. But there's another way that we can kind of think, oh, I'm kind of a failure in my life. And that's just the absence of the feeling of success in general. Now, I make that distinction of that other way that we can feel like a failure because oftentimes we don't even have a target that we're aiming at. We just have this underlying feeling of like, oh yeah, I don't feel very successful. I'm getting by. I'm surviving. I'm making enough money to harbor myself in a shelter and feed myself, but I don't feel very successful. And that's because you don't have aim that you are taking at something. Now, as I said, this is kind of a general list, but this can be specified right down to literally anything. If you are not setting adequate goals in any undertaking, then you are not going to see adequate results. So get a little bit specific with what it is that you're trying to do. Now, this is also applicable in a more general sense of a life purpose, rather. So you have to know what it is that you're aiming for with a purpose in your life in general. What is it that you want to offer to the world? What kind of change do you want to make in the world? What is your purpose? What is the purpose of the work that you are doing? So I actually have a whole video on how to find your life purpose. You can go check that out. If you are having trouble with taking aim at something, I assure you, taking aim, finding some sort of purpose is absolutely necessary to not fail and to succeed, because you have to know what it is that you're even succeeding at in the first place. And if you don't, you're just going to have this underlying feeling of being a failure. So you can go ahead and check out my video on how to find your life purpose in 2021. I believe that's what it's called. If you're watching this at a later date, it still applies to you, in 2022, 2023, whatever. Go ahead and check that video out to help yourself find a purpose or find an aim to shoot at. The next reason why people fail is because of procrastination. This is a very, very common one. If you are someone who is saying that this one doesn't apply to me, well, you're one of two things. You are a liar, or you are in a very small percentage of people. Procrastination is very straightforward on why it is going to hold you back from achieving your goals. It is similar to the list of reasons that I gave on why lack of self-discipline, that's what it was, on why a lack of self-discipline is going to hold you back from your goals and keep you failing. Procrastination is the same thing. Now, there's another side of procrastination, and it's not necessarily that you are lacking discipline and just kind of dancing around your aim or the task that you know that you have to do, but there's a part of you that feels that it's not the right time. It's like, I could do this at a more optimal time. It's going to be the right time next month, or when I do this first, then it's going to be the right time to take this action. That could be very well true in a lot of cases, so I'm not telling you to rush any action necessarily, but don't let that be an excuse for not taking any action at all. Most of the time, the best time to start is right now. Next on our list is a lack of persistence. So this is similar to procrastination and a lack of self-discipline, but it is different in that we oftentimes are very, very good at the beginning of something. We start an undertaking with good momentum, good energy, and then it falls off at the first sign of defeat. Well, let me tell you this. They who are persistent know no failure, only temporary defeat. Failure can't cope with persistence. If you refuse to lay down your arms at the sign of any defeat, and defeat is very real, it can happen. If you want to be able to lift like 300 pounds and you've been working really hard at, developing your strength and growing your big muscles, and then, you were able to lift 290 pounds, and then the next time you go and lift 300 pounds, but you can't do it, that's a defeat. But you're not just going to give up. Well, you might, and that is why you are failing. That's a very black and white example. A lot of the times it's a lot more nuanced than that. But laying down your arms because of one single defeat is going to keep you from succeeding. What you need to do is reframe your mind to not recognize a defeat as the end. So you get defeated, you keep your sword and shield in your hand, and you keep going forward. Don't let one single defeat be the end. Don't let losing a battle make you lose the war. You've heard this phrase, I may have lost the battle, but I haven't lost the war. That is the mindset that you need to adapt. As I said, they who are persistent know no failure. Failure cannot cope with persistence. And that actually ties into our next point, which is insufficient knowledge. Insufficient knowledge is a big reason why people do not succeed and why they are failing. If you are defeated in something and you go back and you try again, but you don't change anything, that is the definition of crazy. Chances are there's some sort of information that you can acquire that is going to help you succeed at what it is that you are failing at. So if you keep on failing and you're just trying and trying and trying again, and you're persisting, but you're still getting defeated and you don't know why, it's most likely because you have insufficient knowledge. So this is applicable to, like anything on this list, this reason is very applicable to any undertaking that you are trying to succeed at and you are seemingly failing at. You may very well have insufficient knowledge, especially if you keep on persisting and your power of will is there. There's no shortage of it, but you're still failing. Check out the insufficient knowledge box and make sure that you try to build that up a little bit more before you move forward again. The next thing on our list is a lack of decisiveness. So, people who are very successful are often very good at making decisions. They are very good at evaluating the decision and which, way to go with their decision, and they make it quite or relatively quick. And if the decision ends up being changed in the long run, that's not something that happens so often, and it takes a little bit of time to change their decision. It's not something that just, flops back and forth. Somebody who is continuously met with failure and they don't see any signs of success is often very reserved in their decision making. So they're very hesitant to make decisions. They weigh out decisions for a long, long time. They don't have a good skill set of evaluating the decision making process and whatever decision it is that they're making. This could be because of a lack of knowledge. So you see how everything on this list ties in together, by the way? Just a little side note, back to the point. The decision-making process that they make is very slow and changes very often. So it might take me, a few weeks to make an important decision, but then the next day I go and change it. And then 2 days later I go and change it again. That is a sign of somebody who is going to be continuously met with failure. Successful people are very good at making decisions and sticking to them. Pretty plain and simple. That brings us into our next point, which is overcaution and fear. A lot of the hesitation in the decision-making process comes from a lot of fear and a lot of overcaution. Now, I'm not telling you to take no caution. Undercaution is just as dangerous as overcaution. So you have to find a happy medium there. But overcaution and fear are what often makes people very indecisive, and you can see where that's going to hold you back from taking any risks. And taking risks is it's a very inherently important part of success in any undertaking, especially in something like the business world or in something like, just finding a whole new path in life. You're going to need to take some risks. You're going to need to step into the unknown a little bit, step out of your comfort zone. And that's very important to know how to do comfortably in a paradoxical way. So if you fall victim to fear and overcaution, you are failing before you have even begun. The next thing on our list is a lack of control over your sexual energy. Lots of people, especially men, waste their sexual energy on things like constantly fantasizing in their head all day or overindulging in sex. And now I'm not telling you to repress your sexual energy, but oftentimes sex is used as a distraction for other problems that we have in our lives, and not just sex with an intimate partner, but especially pornography is a big way that, like I said, especially men, not exclusively men, no, women do this too, very much distract themselves and waste what is actually a lot more than just sexual energy. Our sexual energy is our strongest creative force. It's literally what creates life, is sexual energy. So think about the creation behind the energy that you have and how you could be channeling it to your undertaking that you are trying to succeed at, rather than wasting it, distracting yourself with pornography and various things like this. So learning how to harness and transmute your sexual energy in a healthy way is a very important proponent to success, and not knowing how to do it is a very detrimental thing to success, and it's going to result in failure. The next reason, the urge to want something for nothing. So this is kind of what the gambling instinct is born from. And it's really sad to see a lot of people literally gamble their lives away, literally are just caught on this longing to have something for nothing, right? They want to obtain something and not give out anything in return. It's because it's like the least amount of effort required. It's like, oh, I can, I'll get lucky if I just do this enough times, and then I'll win the lottery, and then I don't have to ever work. Meanwhile, they're robbing themselves of the gift of giving in doing that. So if you don't have an awareness over what might be an urge that you have to get something for nothing, that can very well be something that's causing you a lot of not only failure, but a lot of heartache, a lot of even depression. So that is something to be very aware over. The next reason that people fail is because of wrong selection. No one can succeed in a line of work where they are not enjoying themselves, at least to some degree, where they are not at least a little bit passionate about what it is they're doing, if they don't like what it is they're doing. And even if you do succeed in a line of work where you're not passionate or you don't really care too much about what it is you're doing, and you're doing it just for the money, and you declare it as success because you've made a whole bunch of money doing it, in the long run, people like this aren't actually happy. And so I wouldn't call that success, because how much of your life, how much of your energy have you just spent simply chasing money? Now you can go and check out my video on why money can't make you happy, and as well as 8 habits of success. I define success and a bunch of different habits that are going to let you acquire all the different forms of success, not just financial success. That is only one aspect of being successful. And if you sacrifice all the other forms of success, spiritual success, relational success, things like this, if you're sacrificing all of those, emotional success, just for the financial success, you're not going to be any more happy than you would have without it. So that's important to keep in mind, is make sure you are not failing because of wrong selection. And this is very important. You have to be honest with yourself. That was another reason that people fail, is because they're dishonest. So be honest with yourself and ask yourself, am I potentially in something that I shouldn't necessarily have chosen? Is this best for me? Do I like it? Is this a line of work that I enjoy? The next reason that people fail is because they have an inability to collaborate with others. This one's a pretty straightforward one. If you cannot work well with others, if you are somebody who has a poor temperament and you're very intolerant, then you are not going to be able to produce results that can come from working with a team and multiplying your efforts to see exponential results. But you're also not going to be able to learn from others, and other people have so much to teach you. You have so much to learn from others in the world. Most things, most endeavors, not all, this might not apply to you. Maybe your endeavors aren't something that requires teamwork, but most things require teamwork. Most things require collaboration of some sort. And the more you can be in harmony with the people that you are working with, the more your results are going to yield themselves. So, those are all the reasons that you may be failing at your undertaking, whatever that might be. And when I use this word undertaking, I've been using that a lot throughout this video, I literally mean anything that you are trying to achieve some sort of results in. Now, I don't mean to say results in like it has to be some crude form of results, like, here it is, I wrote a book, here's my result, here's the book. Results can be harmony in your home, in your relationships with your, with like your kids or with your significant other, or maybe your brother and your sister, stuff like this. Those are results. Producing harmonious relationships, that is a result. So when I say undertaking, I mean literally anything. Seeing results in the gym, seeing results in forming better relationships with people, seeing results in your business, seeing results in your workplace if you're an employee, literally anything. That's it for today's video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a like. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.